And speak of the devil.
Sorry about that, everyone.
You're right on time.
little close. How's everyone doing?
Good. How are you?
We're hanging in. March. I love March mostly when it's over. I always feel like it's like my favorite 90 days of the year.
Yeah.
So,
that is true.
Yeah.
So we do have quorum with the three of us, and so I think we're just waiting to see if they're ready to start recording. And I think once we have the green light for that, we're live streaming and recording. Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead. I'll call the subcommittee meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. So the first item on the agenda is so I would take a motion for the approval of the November 2nd minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote. Laura?
Aye.
Jean?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, passes unanimously. So next item, and this is kind of really the obviously kind of like the big thing, and so this is there's two parts to this. The first is for you, Dr. Riley, to kind of talk through or kind of go over the feedback that you kind of had received from members at the midway point, and just like especially like in terms of maybe like what they were looking for evidence. And then second thing is to kind of just go over really the timeline to kind of back things off from the end of April when we're going to need stuff, really when we're going to need you to submit all your materials to us. That's kind of really the next big one. And then there's some internal stuff for us as well, but kind of for you, that's the next one. But I'll start. I'll let you lead off with just any discussions, any thoughts on the feedback that you kind of got about the halfway point.
Yeah, for the most part, I think people have been supportive with what I've been including in the when I do the superintendent's report and on track. I do know I have to do more active links, and I think Member Kirschenbaum, I liked what she had sent on the for the evidence collection, the document she had sent a little bit earlier, I think about a week ago. And I think I do need to have evidence links. That was some things that people mentioned just so they can go to the documents that are referenced and kind of make it live. And so it's not just a statement on a piece of paper, but you can actually see the work product or the actual thing that happened. And so I think that was the big thing around evidence collection. And I still have to do some work around that, to be honest with you. I think I have a good record of what I've done. I think I haven't done a lot of the live links to documents where people can actually see the work products or what the ultimate result was of what I'm talking about. So whether it be agendas, whether it be, I'll give an example. We're going to be finished with updating the DCAP, which is a big thing for us in their MTSS work. So that's something I would want to provide when I'm providing evidence for my goals. Things of that nature, I think, is the big step that I need to make sure that I accomplish and will have more meaning other than, hey, I went here or I participated in that. That was I think the big thing that I kind of gleaned from people's feedback. And I have got some, I'll be honest with you, I know we talked earlier about trying to make sure that I did that as I was moving along, and I haven't been able, I think sometimes because of the nature of the work wasn't completed yet. But in terms of what I'm going to learn for next year, it's going to be trying to make more live links available as the process is moving forward, because that'll be the heaviest lift I think I have to do in the next couple of weeks. I think people too, I know when I reported at the midway point, I've been a little overwhelmed in that if you had asked me where I would be with my goals. And I feel decent about the things and the work we've accomplished. But there are some things that I haven't gotten to the level of detail I would have wished I would have gotten to. I'm still at the point where I'm looking to combine the data from my survey results with the NESDEC focus groups in their review of what they had found in terms of the district and findings. So that stuff, I should be there hopefully by the time we get to at least our second committee meeting in April. But that's work I know I wish I was further along with. And some of that's a result of what's happening in the district and shifting priorities. But that's been my biggest challenge around goals. Feel good about the work we've done with principals. But I would say that strategic planning piece, I'm farther behind than I wish I was with the, work we did in terms of the entry plan. But I do think by the end of the year, we'll be in a decent spot. I'm not sure if that's helpful or you want further detail or is anything else you're thinking of?
I mean, I'll kind of let Laura and Jean talk in a minute. But broadly, I would say it's really the point is just kind of feedback to kind of hear your thoughts on like what members had said at the midway point of like, oh, this is what we're looking for, which you talked a bit about the live links as well. And admittingly, part of this first year as a superintendent, so there's some learning just with even the evaluation part of it as well. So, but I think a lot of the things that you've, and again, you have the advantage that this year that's kind of goals are a little bit different this year, with which Desi does carve that out for new superintendents coming in. So, a bit more focused on being able to talk about like what you're building, maintaining momentum, the induction program and all of that. So, so I'll pass it to Laura and Jean, the thoughts they may have.
Thanks, Carl. If you do, the sample document that I had shared with you, feel free to edit it and adjust it as you see fit. One of the things that I think that's going to be most helpful for me, and I have found it helpful in my practice, is providing some sort of a reflection or a rationale on why this is important. And I can't emphasize that enough. Like the hyperlinks are important, but then, spelling it out for members of our committee, like why you felt that this was important. I know that that's a heavy lift at this particular moment because of the shifting priorities, but I think that, where you're articulating that there are some places where you feel like maybe you're not as far along as you would have hoped by the time that we need to put together our reports, realizing that our process ends sort of before the end of the school year. I think that, if you can provide some sort of rationale or vision on how that helps you get to your goal, then that might help our members. A lot of us who are not necessarily in education speak and don't have that kind of vocabulary. They might need a little bit more understanding as to why you're inserting certain things and what they mean.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I think that that's all really sound advice.
I looked, I do think I was actually relieved because when I was looking at the timeline that was proposed, I think that is manageable. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks, but I just wanted to confirm with everyone. So we'd be looking, or ideally, I'd have my narrative and everything in for people to review. I believe we put out there loosely by April 10th. Which was honestly a week later than I thought I might have to do it for the school committee meeting. Do we think at this point, would you want me to, what are the thoughts? Would you want me to address any of this at the April 3rd meeting? Do we feel like that's a viable timeline if I have the information available to the full committee by the 10th?
Can you ask your question again? I want to make sure I understand your question.
So we were talking about, backdating or going backwards from the timeline. And one of the things I think came from you was that the goal of the committee would be to have approval of the final report at the April 27th meeting, I believe. And
Yeah.
and to do that, when we were looking at backing out the dates, that I'd get a subcommittee final review of evidence and survey by April 1st, and get evidence and survey to review and complete to school committee as a collective body by April 10th. Do we feel like that's still a viable timeline? I'm comfortable with that if that works for everybody, but I just want to make sure that's a timeline that people feel is acceptable.
The only thing, and it's a little bit of a push for you, but if you could get that submitted by the Friday beforehand, just because that would give everyone on the committee an extra weekend to
Absolutely.
potentially to be able to kind of review. Not that because
I can do it.
if you can get it out you'd say Friday by close of business is to use that expression,
Mhm.
then realistically that gives the full committee 2 weeks, a 2-week window plus 2 weeks plus the following weekend. Now, granted, the second week is April vacation week, so that's why it's maybe, like I said, maybe a little bit harder, but that way there's a bigger window, which I know in the past that trying to have a short window for the committee to do their evaluation, we have gotten pushback on that, because if we have it so that the deadline for us as a subcommittee to say everyone needs to get their evaluations submitted by midnight of the 23rd, which is at Sunday, then we would have a meeting on the 24th or 25th. Could do it the 26th, but to basically get together and pull everyone's individual evaluations to make the composite evaluation. So like I said, that's giving the full committee the 2 weeks plus that, really. So 3 weekends and 2 weeks, or go ahead, Laura.
Carl, I just want to capture the numbers and the days that you're speaking about so that I can capture this in the notes and make sure that we're getting this, right? So if I know you said Friday, but I'm not sure which Friday you're speaking about.
So Friday, April 7th.
Yep.
Okay.
And I definitely can. That's absolutely. If that gives you enough time, I can do that. I thought in my mind tonight, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to try to get this to you the week before that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I think I'll do a better job if I can have the 7th. And if you think that's sufficient time, that would work really well for me.
And so it would be by end of close of business on April 7th, individual committee members would have the superintendent's narrative, links to evidence, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
The evaluation tool would be open. If Barry Sklar can have it so that the tool's live at the same time, that would be ideal. So that you would say, here's my narrative, here's all my links to evidence, here's the Google form evaluation tool with all the links kind of embedded in that.
Mm-hmm.
So that the evaluation window for committee members would then be, say, essentially April 8th through the 23rd. So that's 2 weeks. one of those weeks is April vacation, but it's a 2-week window. And then us as a subcommittee, 24th, 25th, or the 26th to gather, consolidate data, consolidate the individual write-ups.
And when would we have to have that completed by, Carl? We would be working on that from the 23rd to the, well, it would be on the agenda, but we would submit that to be ready to submit for the 26th.
So we would, that's why so the 24th or the 25th would be better. And it's basically, it'll be one long meeting where we kind of divide things up, and maybe like I'd work, like, depending on if Mike and Matt are able to make it, we can kind of divvy it up a little bit more. But the goal, the aim would be that really I would, before the 26th, I would like to be able to pass all the information then on to Sherry. And then at the meeting on the 27th, that the committee would then vote on accepting the evaluation.
So so the surveys would close at the latest on the 23rd. The surveys would close by the committee members. And then I would suggest that Sherry is involved in our work during that 23rd to 26th. Since from my understanding, the past practice has been that the chair is the voice, right, of this compiled review, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically the way to think of it is that we're the ones that take 22 evaluations, consolidate into a consolidated narrative for goal number 1. There were 10 fully met, 9 partially met, or whatever, and being able to take 22 narratives about goal number 1 and pulling out the trends from those 20, like from everyone's individual one. And so, yeah, we're basically the ones that do that work, and then really it gets passed off to Sherry to be the voice of the committee saying, this is what the committee has said.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm hearing, just to get this right, that between now and April 7th, you are, you, Jim, are compiling your links and your narrative and completing all the evidence work that you feel you want to present to the school committee. The school committee then receives that report that you're providing, plus the survey tool, which I would hope that we would get to discuss tonight. And then we would give the school committee the 2 weeks to review all the materials, and then the subcommittee works over those 3 days, 2 or 3 days, to distill and summarize those evaluations, to then compile it into that one report to be presented to the school committee for approval on the 27th. So this timeline is really tight. and I know that we're bound by policy for this, but it just feels like it, and this is not a critique of this particular process, but for the past several years, I noticed April vacation always comes at April vacation, and then this happens, and then the election, and it's just so condensed at this time of year, just with the budget and everything. And I just wonder, like moving forward, if a policy review is would make this process a little less, you know, rushed at the end. And give us that little bit of cushion, or maybe even if Sherry, if Sherry decides that maybe we need a special meeting to give us that weekend and go to May 1st.
Yeah, I know that, like, because traditionally the other challenge is that, like, elections being the week after, and the week before is when you have the first town meetings. So
Mhm.
I think Sterling's meeting's on the 1st.
I see. Okay, so
And
that's what
so
it is. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I know that's a topic for another time, but I mean, I think that, I think there's some serious reflection on how we do this process and how it feels. And I know that the other alternative is to have the new body of the school committee do the final evaluation, which doesn't make sense. But I'm just, offering this as food for thought.
No, I mean, that's but I mean, and that is a broader, I mean, conversation to be had with kind of, would the committee want to have a new body do the evaluation so that you could do an evaluation in June and you'd be able to better capture it, where you're going to have you'll have a number of new people on the committee who won't have any experience, but will be walking in and saying, this is the evidence, evaluate the superintendent. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a broad, I think it's a fair discussion for the full committee to have, because
Mhm.
it may be that the majority of the people on the committee think it would be better to do it that way.
Yeah.
But at this point right now, we have to
Yeah,
play
we're
the
bound
hand we're dealt for this year. So
For sure. For sure. All right.
So what I
Jim,
wanted to do, and if it's okay, I wanted to, because and Laura had mentioned the evaluation tool as well.
Mhm.
So I have the evaluation tool from last year.
Oh, you
I
do.
thought I could at least put it up on the screen. Should be able to share my screen.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. So to present it onto my screen so that at least for Dr. Riley, you can, obviously it's new for you. So, so let me do this. Interesting. Well, let me present a tab. I thought you used to be able to do that in Google Meets, but, all right, let me do this.
And while we're waiting here, I do have a question for you, Dr. Riley, like regarding evaluation tools. Like this is obviously our homegrown method here based
Mhm.
on, you know, things that we've seen before. But I wonder if there are parts of our software that do this kind of evaluation survey and have those templates. I mean, I don't know if we're using things for teachers or for the administrators, who work under you, but I'm just wondering if this is, if this is a viable method, or if there are other methods that we already have software for and we're just not using in our capacity.
Yep, I can definitely, let me take a look, and I'll definitely let you know, because I'm happy to follow through, through Teach Point and other things in terms of what we're using. The other thing I was wondering about, and you had asked this question, and I hadn't gotten to it, but I went through it. Would you all, the rubrics, they've shrunk it down a little bit, but it has just a lot of substandards under the standards. And one thing, I was looking at a previous email, and you had asked, I think in the past, perhaps there was some agreement about what indicators, you would like me to focus on. And so is that a route you would like me to go? I think, one of the things we did a little bit today, and I'm still, it's in its infancy what we did down here, but we looked at two things. We looked at my goals, and then we also looked at expectations from NESDEC for superintendent in the first year. And, also looked at some of the work we've been trying to do through central office. And so I took the 4 standards and I had 8 proposed indicators that I thought we would have decent evidence for in terms of, and it kind of defines the work we focused on, under those standards. Is that something, are we too late in the process? Would you rather have me try to do the entire rubric, or what are people's thoughts on that?
So I have a thought on that.
Mhm.
I think that the school committee focuses in on the goals, right? We approve the goals in the process, but my understanding is that that power standards or indicators are up to our conversation and your discretion as to what you'd like to focus on. So I don't think we're too late, is my point. I think that if you feel that there are some indicators that you'd like to really hit home, I mean, that's been our practice. I didn't realize that ahead of time, unfortunately, that our practice has been to have in that evaluation tool, as we're going to see the form, that there were specific indicators that were highlighted rather than everything. And I think that that's the way to go. And I apologize that we didn't come with that. It didn't even cross my mind, to be honest. But looking at what we did in the past, that's how it's worked. But I don't think that the school committee has to approve those. I don't think that that's part of the deal.
Okay.
So I would say, let's move forward with you focusing.
Okay. And do you think that's sufficient? I think what we did is I worked with Jane, and we really, and Barry had taken a look at it with me too. And we identified really 2 per standard, which would be a total of 8. Do you think that's sufficient?
Yeah, I think that's common practice.
Yeah, I mean, even at that, I think when I was looking at what DESE says, I think they say at a minimum 6. I think they say 6 to 12.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I mean, basically, because again, as Laura said, we evaluate on the goals, and then we evaluate really on the standards.
Mhm.
And then you basically pick, say, 1 to 2 standards or 2 indicators from each one, and say, this is my evidence in support of what I've done against this indicator for this standard.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that would work wonderfully. So thank you, because that helps me greatly.
All right, so so I think this may have been the one that Laura had sent out or shared, I think, but
Yeah. I didn't have a copy of the old one, and so I made a new one.
No, I appreciated looking at it, to be honest with you. I mean, Barry hasn't pulled up. I know he's got it. He said, I can support you with all this, but I liked what you had forwarded, so thank you.
Yeah. So the only thing that I didn't do, which has been part of the practice, and we can go back and adjust this, is the previous surveys had the standard and the indicators, the evidence of indicators specifically.
Okay.
Because I didn't have our focused indicators, I used the overall
Mhm.
rating for that that standard.
Mhm.
So we can go back and adjust that if you feel that that's more appropriate to just focus on the evidence and the for the indicator in that standard, in those in the standards and so forth. So I can adjust that so that it's more specific. Do you have that?
I do. I have a hard copy of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Carl, you want me to see if I can share it?
If you can,
Let me give it a shot.
it's telling me Firefox is not letting me share it. I haven't seen that before.
You saw me the other night at school committee when trying to make Zoom work. So
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do it. I think I've got it.
okay,
You want me to do it?
sure.
Yeah, if you can, Laura.
Okay. This is the ultimate in multitasking.
There it is.
All right. So let me go to the top. We'll take it from the top. All right. And so this would be, oops, I think I can edit this as we go. So 23,
Yep.
right? Okay. So putting in the resources. So
Mhm.
this is your superintendent goals that we approved. Then there's the rubric, evidence, summative evaluation form. That's from DESI. That's a sample one there. And then our policy, which outlines our duties and our timelines. All right. So here is what I was talking about. This is the overall standard, and these would be the indicators in the evaluation form from DESI. Each one of these indicators has evidence, and what constitutes proficient evidence, exemplary evidence, and so on and so forth. So I would, if you're going to tell us which indicators you're going to focus in on, what I'll do is I'll remove this picture and put in instead the actual one that we're focusing in on, which has been the practice before.
Mhm.
And then the person who's evaluating the standard would just click what they would like, and then their comments and their analysis, their narrative of why.
Mhm.
And then this is standard 2. And again, it was the same thing. I just plugged in the picture of all the indicators in the areas. And what we can do is we can adjust that. So there'll actually be 2 questions, right, for each standard.
Mhm.
And then there'll be, I can do 2 comments or I can do 1 so that we could evaluate each indicator and then do 1 narrative. Do you think that that's appropriate?
Yeah, I think that's probably like so I would say that it would be like say like standard 1A, they'd have a
Yeah.
rating for that. Say 1B
Mhm.
rating for that. And then standard 1 overall,
Yeah.
the rating for the standard, and then below that narrative for the standard.
Okay.
Okay. So like
Yep.
three bubble entries, 1 per indicator, the standard one, and then a long narrative.
Yeah. Does that sound good, everybody? Okay.
And Laura, do you want me now? Does this look I haven't seen what Barry had done in the past. Does this look similar in format? Do you want me
I didn't
to?
realize that Barry had done it in the past, to be honest.
Oh, and I don't know. I don't. Is this when we were talking about him and his Google? Is this what we're talking about, or is it something entirely different?
It is pretty similar to this. I mean, I thought I could pull it up from like the work that we had done last year, but I think Barry had the rights to it, and then it's been closed up and put away. But it's similar to the Google form that he had
Mhm.
worked on and put together.
The only reason I'm saying this, Laura, is I'm happy to take notes on this, and just if you're comfortable making Barry an editor, I'll have him make the updates
Yes.
and move. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally fine because he probably, if he was the one who did it before, he probably can grab those indicators much faster than I.
He's a magician. Yeah, he's
So yes, I will gladly hand that off. That's
All right.
perfect.
And then maybe what we do is Barry and I, like, as I'm looking at one of the other timelines you had thrown out to me, we'll make sure we get it back, and I don't know how we would do this, and if this is okay. I didn't want to, break any rules here with the school committee, but then perhaps, because I think I did this before with the goals, perhaps I can send it to all of you individually and say, this is the updated form, and to see if there's any feedback that way and go with it like that. Does that make sense? Just, I'll have him make the edits we agree to. Then you can see, because there was, on one of the emails, it was said subcommittee final review of evidence and survey by April 1st. And so, and I can do it before then. I can work on it with him next week. But if you, do you want me to do that and then send it to you all individually, or are you okay with me just taking this feedback and going from there? Whatever works for everybody.
So, I mean, I think it would be beneficial, I think, if like once you and Barry kind of have it worked up, if you sent it to us individually, just as a check to say like,
Yep.
is it capturing the things we want it to capture?
Yep. That's exactly how I mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Do you want me to scroll down to the bottom where it goes to goals, or do you feel like we've got enough information about this now?
Go ahead and scroll down. I would say, yeah,
Okay.
so he can.
Because I know, Gene, this is, I think, the first time Gene's seeing it. So now, so this is goal number 1. Okay. So I put in your goal there, and then we have the ratings that we've used in the past. And I think that these are part of the, I pulled this from Desi, I believe. Goal number 2, goal number 3, and then I guess I have goal progress comments. So overall, and then the overall summative rating here. So I'm wondering, probably, maybe what we need is goal number 1 comments, goal number 2 comments, goal number 3 comments, right? So that everybody has a chance to, rather than 1 for all 3, right? Kind of parse it out.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then there's the
It would make
overall.
our work a little bit easier because, like, I could say, Laura, go to town with the feedback for goal number 1, and you don't have to be going through through the big entry and trying to pull out the individual pieces.
Right.
Oh, good idea. Yep.
Yeah. And then overall rating, right? And then we have had in the past, we've also had impact on student learning, high, moderate, low, and then overall comments. Is that enough places for comments that parse that out a little bit, or what do you think?
I think that's pretty good because it gives everyone a chance to comment kind of where they make an evaluation, to talk whatever they want, and then at the end, the overall, that if there's anything that they didn't talk about earlier, they can capture it there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So can I stop sharing here?
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, thanks. Just so I can go back to my minutes.
Thank you.
I want to capture all the minutes.
So I don't know. So Jim, I don't know if you had any other questions or kind of thoughts on the evaluation tool.
Yeah. My only other thought was that Laura had also provided, and thank you, the evidence and reflection collection. And I'm wondering, and I don't know if Barry will have a solution for this. I'd love to allow members to be able to access that information as they're doing the ratings. if that makes sense. But I don't know if that's possible. You know what I
So-
mean?
I think it could be a resource at the top of the
Got you.
survey form.
Yep.
If we made it a hyperlink at the top of the form, then people can do a split screen.
Perfect.
And that's where that reflection piece comes in. Like if you say, hey, this is for my
Mhm.
indicator for standard 1A, and this is why I think I'm hitting this,
Mhm.
then we can, that will explain to us your thinking, and then we can say, yep, nailed it, or gosh, I really wish I had seen, blah, blah, blah.
Nope,
Um,
that's exactly what I'm trying to address. So that's helpful. Okay.
But yeah, absolutely. I think that embedded it as a hyperlink in the form so that like Laura said, people can jump to it and split screen it or tab click and whatever works for them.
Okay. It's good.
So nothing, didn't have anything else on the agenda, like I said, but at least wanted to hopefully kind of set the table for what we've got for our timeline for this year at least. So any other questions, Jean,
No, I don't have any.
Laura? Any other questions or thoughts or anything you're on your mind or you're thinking like, oh, we should talk about this or?
No, I think that we've covered everything that I have on my mind.
Anything else, Jim?
No, and I mean this because I remember our first meeting this year. And so I just thank you all for your work, your guidance, your support. So thank you.
All right. So then last item is next meeting. And so, I mean, I want to go ahead and get it on the calendar now because some other subcommittee will gobble up the time if we don't. And right now, at least the posting from Randy didn't have anything on the 24th or the 25th. So it's a Monday or a Tuesday. Obviously, Jim, you could send Barry Sklar or anyone, but I don't know which of those I would really want to do it one of those 2 days. I wouldn't want to push it to Wednesday.
Well, I
Yeah.
can tell you that my class at UMass Lowell gets out at 5, so 6 is not really a great time for me because, like, I've been gone all day. My dogs need attention, and it's a little crazy for me at 6. But I can do 7 on Monday, but Tuesday is probably the better day.
So what about this? What about we're gonna get the forms. Can we actually push the deadline back from the committee to the 22nd? This is just really tight. What I'm going to propose is that we meet on the 25th after having some time to review the materials so that when we come to the conversation, we've had a chance to look at it before, so we're not looking at it with just fresh eyes trying to do this,
Mm-hmm.
And then try to address anything that we have any issues with on the 25th. And that gives us the 26th to finalize those things. I don't know. I mean, like, this is just.
It is. It's it makes for potentially a couple of long nights. I mean, certainly we can have like say midnight at the 22nd when it closes to the full committee. So that gives them at least that Saturday. And then having it so that we would be able to see it come that Sunday that sets up so that it's although I
don't know if we're going to be able to get it before Monday. That's the thing, like the school vacation.
yeah,
So we're probably going to get it on Monday.
yeah. And let me so there's one other thing I wanted to take a look at. because last year, let me see. So yeah, so last year what we got as a subcommittee was it was a link to a shared folder. So someone at administration had set this up, and they went into Google Forms and basically printed off whatever that individual member's submission was. And so it was a PDF showing that individual's submission. And so I don't know, I don't know if there's an easier way for us as a subcommittee to be able to get that, like a faster way from what members submit online through the Google form or whatever tool we decide to use, for us as a subcommittee to be able to see that, rather than having someone in administration open up the individual responses, print it off, scan it in, drop it in a Google Drive.
Let me ask, I can ask Barry. I mean, I'm thinking, right, that if you did it with any other survey, people can look at survey results. And so I think he could make you all owners or recipients of the data, and you should be able to access it that way. But that's just a guess, but I can definitely ask Barry.
Because if there were a way for Barry the Wizard to flip a switch,
Right,
or program it so that at midnight on the 22nd on Saturday,
can't be changed, but can be viewed by all of you, and you can see all the results.
and we can see all the data in everyone's submission, then we would be able to, like, as Laura said, we'd be able to kind of start looking things over and start digesting and start thinking about how to compile and bin things,
Okay.
rather than having to wait for
Somebody
people to come back from April vacation, first thing Monday, start downloading, printing, scanning.
No, totally makes sense. And there's got to be a way. So let me
see, this is one of the reasons why an evaluation tool, like a piece of software, could be useful for us rather than using Google. That's not, not always good for things like this.
Right.
But again, a comment for another time. So April, when do we want to meet? April the 25th?
Yeah, I think Tuesday is a better night for us.
Is 6 o'clock okay?
6 o'clock would work for me.
Yep, fine
if
for
we
me.
need to make it maybe 6, I don't know, if Gene, if you need
No,
6:30.
No, 6 on Tuesdays is fine.
Okay.
It's just my class is Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we did it at 6, that would, earlier the better, I think, because then if we have a long night where we're pounding this stuff out, and we can do what we need to do.
And what I'll tell Randy as well is we'll put one in for we'll put in a placeholder for Wednesday as well. So that way, if we just get working, we have to throw in the towel and extend it to the next day, then we at least have a placeholder that we could jump into. But certainly, I mean, the aim would be able to get everything crunched and knocked out that Tuesday night.
Yeah, when you say placeholder, she should book it for that day, right? And we can always, cancel it, but we can't add it, right, within that time period of
Yeah. So yeah, because if we get there Tuesday night and we're like, oh, we need another 3 hours worth of work, we'd have to push it out 48 hours. But if we've got something on there for Wednesday, and then get everything done on Tuesday, then we're just like, meeting's canceled, and then we're good.
Okay.
I put down placeholders on both dates on my calendar, and she has that calendar, so you should be
Okay.
good.
All right, so I think we're good. Any one last round? Any last final thoughts or anything else?
Nope.
Not seeing anything. In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We will proceed to a roll call vote, left to right. Jean,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
chair votes yes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Jim, I'll see you in about 10 minutes.
Right. Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Appreciate
Take care. Good work.
Right. Thank you.